Good morning to our colleagues in the studio in Washington, D.C., and to welcome to our viewers all around the world. I'm Richard Morningstar. I'm the founding chairman of the Atlantic Council Global Energy Center and the former U.S. ambassador to the European Union. And it's my honor to introduce this timely conversation which will shine a spotlight on the vibrant and critically important partnership between the United States and Romania, a relationship now a quarter of a century strong. As the war in Ukraine reaches its one-year mark, the importance of allies like Romania has never been more salient. Romania is a key partner in a key region right on Ukraine's border. We'll be talking about energy cooperation as we go on today, but I think it's also important to really stress the importance of Romania to helping Ukraine and Moldova through its present energy crisis. The United States has a vital interest in ensuring the security of the Black Sea as a bulwark against Russian aggression, and the region is a vital center of support for transatlantic efforts to fortify Ukraine against Russia's illegal invasion. Russia's weaponization of energy to try and break that support has demonstrated the importance of energy security as a factor in overall security. It has also highlighted that over-reliance on imported fossil fuels presents huge geostrategic risks in addition to climate risk. So it's crucial that we maintain the same high level of transatlantic coordination on energy issues as we have on hard security and economic sanctions. And again, Romania is a crucial partner in doing just that. The war has created much uncertainty in the European global energy system, but one thing is crystal clear. We never, ever can revert to reliance on Russian energy. On this issue, Romania has much to teach Europe and the world. Romania embodies the all of the above approach that is so vital to ensuring both energy security and advancing climate action. Romania provides evidence that energy security and the green transition are not at odds and in fact reinforce one another. Romania has an excellent opportunity to leverage offshore reserves and prosper as a European gas hub, helping the continent to wean itself off of Russian imports. Romania is also significantly increasing its investment in renewables, with nearly 30 gigawatts worth of projects currently underway. In addition, Romania is a leader in nuclear power. Chernovota, if I'm pronouncing it right, is a pillar of regional energy security, and ongoing renovations can support energy secure decarbonization in Romania for years to come. We have to always remember that nuclear is clean energy. The US-Romania partnership in nuclear energy is strong and has the potential to pioneer deployment in next generation nuclear technologies, including small modular reactors from US companies. And Romania, even now with its MOU with the United States, can be a staging power for the future of low carbon, flexible baseload power. Partnership between the United States and Romanian public and private sectors is a key to unlocking the country's vast energy potential. In fact, energy has been a great catalyst for strong US-Romanian ties in the past and looking into the future. So I look forward today to what promises to be a thoughtful discussion on how the United States and Romania can work together to establish sustainable and secure energy systems within the Black Sea region in the next 25 years and beyond that. So I'm honored to now turn the podium over to His Excellency Andrei Muraru, Romania's ambassador to the United States, to offer further reflections on US-Romania energy ties. Ambassador, over to you.
Thank you, Ambassador Morningstar. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Before I start, let me express our deepest sympathy and sincerest condolences to Turkey over the loss of life and large-scale destruction brought by a terrible earthquake. Our thoughts and prayers are with the government and people of Turkey at this difficult time. Dear Ambassador Morningstar, distinguished members of the United States government, distinguished members of the Romanian government and presidential administration, distinguished audience, dear friends. It is my great pleasure to be here at the Atlantic Council, with whom we share a strong partnership and friendship, and whom we share whose expertise in revealing the complexities of the inflection point we are in right now is unparalleled. There is no better place, my dear friends, to discuss energy security, climate change, and the geopolitics of energy. There is no better time to discuss that than now, when Russia's brutal war in Ukraine reaches its one-year mark. A war coupled with unprecedented weaponization of energy and outright energy blackmail. And there are no better partners, my dear friends, to discuss with than the United States and Romania. More than 25 years of strategic partnership, shared values, common goals, and the shared understanding of the challenges we face and how to tackle them together. Together, we are trailblazers. The United States, Romania, a groundbreaking project in advancing nuclear technology, will bring the first of a kind small modular reactor online and will pave the way to a new source of clean energy. This is the very definition of high-tech, low-carbon. We'll build secure supply chains for innovative tech that can lower emissions and accelerate the green transition in Romania, in the Black Sea region, and beyond. Together, my friends, we are energy security providers for Europe, for the Black Sea region, for Moldova and Ukraine. The United States is a key supplier. Romania is a uniquely positioned infrastructure hub, key elements in the race to diversify sources and routes and to end dependence on Russian energy. Add to that Romania's own Black Sea gas, and we've got a whole new regional energy security dynamic. Together, my friends, we are architects of a green tomorrow. A tomorrow with zero emissions, clean waters, renewable energy, forests and biodiversity, a vibrant green economy, clean energy jobs. From our partnership on climate smart agriculture to our joint efforts to accelerate the energy transition, we will strive to build a tomorrow that is both prosperous and sustainable, from America's oceans to Romania's Black Sea. We have a lot to work to do in the next 25 years of our strategic partnership. A lot to fight against, from weaponization of energy to climate change. But more importantly, a lot to fight for: security, prosperity, a cleaner and greener future. And we will do so together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Muraru, for your excellent remarks. And also thank you, Ambassador Morningstar, for your fantastic welcoming remarks as well. My name is Olga Hakova. I am a Deputy Director for European Energy Security here at the Atlantic Council Global Energy Center. And it is my distinct pleasure to moderate today's discussion. I have just a couple of reminders for us before we get started and before I have a chance to introduce our star lineup. Today's conversation is on the record. It would also be streamed on Atlantic Council's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Atlantic Council's website as well. You can follow the conversation. Let us know your thoughts. Our handle is at AC Global Energy. We will, towards the end, we will accept questions on Zoom and also from our in-person audience. Well, without further ado, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our star lineup today. As you can tell, we have a 3+3 format, really exciting. First, on my left, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Alexandra Bosce, who is the advisor to the President of Romania on climate and sustainability. Next, we have Ambassador Tatiana Josiper, Special Envoy for Energy and Climate Diplomacy at the Romanian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Next, we have Jake Levine, who is the Chief Climate Officer at the US International Development Finance Corporation. We also have with us David Livingston, who is a Senior Advisor, Office of the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, US Department of State. We also have Deputy Minister George Niculescu, who is the State Secretary of Romanian Ministry of Energy, and Josh Wolfs, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Europe, Eurasia, Africa, Middle East at the US Department of Energy. Josh, I feel like you need a longer title, so we'll work on that. Well, just thank you all so much for taking the morning to join us today. As Ambassador Morningstar and Ambassador Muraru mentioned, it is an important time, so we'll just dive right into it. It will be a shame for me not to mention the most recent developments and just the newly introduced, newly rolled out G7 ban on refined products before we dive into some of the other exciting topics around Black Sea cooperation and engagement and the U.S. engagement. I feel like that's something that just happened. It would be amiss if we did not mention it in the conversations. Deputy Minister, just initial thoughts on how you think it'll impact the markets or not. I know that your energy minister just said that he doesn't anticipate that there will be shortages, that everything's staying on course, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
First of all, let me say that I'm honored to represent the Ministry of Energy, and I want to thank the Atlantic Council for extending the invitation to participate. Good morning, everyone. Regarding your question, let me say that we had the sanctions mentioned in the sixth package of sanctions beginning of December, 5th December, the ban against the crude oil coming from the Russian Federation. Europe no longer had to import this crude oil, and Romania had no difficulty in providing other sources of imports of crude oil. So we diversified our routes of imports. All the refineries are working at 100%. And since yesterday, 5th of February, also it was enforced a ban on oil products. And in the Ministry of Energy, we had a meeting on the 1st of February in which we invited all the stakeholders involved in the security of supply of oil products. And we had discussions with them, which gave us the whole picture. Nothing was to worry about. Imports of oil products has no impact on, this ban has no impact on our market.
Thank you so much for this update. Really appreciate it. Since we're staying on this resource topic, and particularly natural gas, oil diversification, the Black Sea holds tremendous amounts of resources. And there's a lot of excitement, discussions around development before the war, before this horrific invasion by Russia in Ukraine. Right now, it's really hard for the industry, for institutional investors to go into a war zone. There really aren't any mechanisms that could mitigate the risk for them. Could you talk about, is there a possibility of creating such a mechanism to encourage such kind of investment? Is that even possible? That way, we can keep making progress on developments in the Black Sea, even though there's just horrific things happening, and we can try to mitigate it and also contribute to energy security in the region through these actions.
First of all, let me let me say and underline the fact that Romania is not in a war zone. We are protected by our NATO allies. We have a strong deployment of NATO troops in the region. In Constanța, near the Black Sea, we have the Mihail Cogălnicianu military base where American soldiers are stationed there. So it's no danger. Romania is not in the war zone. This is something that I want to underline. The proof of this is that the company, American company, Black Sea Oil and Gas, started exploiting the deposit of natural gas from the Black Sea in June last year. So 1 billion cubic meters of natural gas are taken out of the deposit in the Black Sea and injected in the national transport system, adding to our onshore production and providing more stability to our energy system. Romania is a safe place. The Black Sea, the economical area, Romanian economical area from the Black Sea, it's a safe place for investments. Romgaz, our national gas company, bought the shares from Exxon and partner up with OMV Petrom in order to start the investments in the biggest gas deposit from the Black Sea. And we are hoping that mid-2026, beginning of 2027, we will have the first molecules of natural gas taking out from this deposit. So again, let me underline that Romania is a safe place, and companies are more than welcome to come and to invest in Romania, not only on the Black Sea, but only on the onshore infrastructure of energy. And if we are speaking about the Black Sea area, we must take advantage of all the potential that the Black Sea is offering, not only oil and gas, but also offshore wind.
Thank you so much for that clarification. Very important. And I know with the next question, I'm putting you a bit on the spot because I know this is outside of your portfolio. So keeping that in mind, even before the war started, Romania was trying to find the perfect balance between creating a tax environment that could both enable the country to benefit from the financial benefits of its resources and development of its resources, at the same time being an attractive space for the private sector. And I do know it's outside of the work that you do. It's more for your finance minister. But could you talk about, was the country able to find that balance, or do you envision additional potential tax reforms on the horizon?
I mean, like you said, I'm not a finance expert,
right.
So I will try to give you an answer. Also leading by example. If Black Sea Oil and Gas started to exploit the natural gas deposits in the Black Sea, it seems that our government did a good job in order to find the balance between the needs of the government and to establish a limit for overtaxation and the interest of the companies that want to invest to exploit the deposits from the Black Sea. Also, Romgaz, again, I'm turning to our national gas company, Romgaz. It's ready to take the final decision for investments for the Neptune Deep deposit. OMV Petrom still waiting for their decision, but I think soon they will have also this decision being taken. This means that when we had an adjustment of this policy, meaning that when there is political will and when we put the interest of our economical interest and our national interest first, I think the leaders of the government coalition showed maturity and passed this bill through the parliament in order to have the right balance between the government's need, the Romanians' needs, and the investors' needs also.
Thank you so much. New resource development is important, but it's also infrastructure, getting things to where they need to go, to the right consumers in the most environmentally friendly way. Ambassador Josiper, I would love to hear your thoughts on how is the region doing in terms of infrastructure development? Are we done? Have we completed the Central and Eastern Europe and the Black Sea region? Are we there yet? Or do we feel like there's still some deserts, some infrastructure deserts that need to be finished off, and where can US and Romania work together, and also the region broadly work together on completing those gaps?
Thank you very much, and thank you, Atlantic Council, for the invitation. The infrastructure, Romania has invested a lot in infrastructure, especially in gas transport infrastructure, and we have created proper conditions so the gas will flow freely from the sources near to our region, and I'm talking here about Azerbaijan and the Southern Gas Corridor, and can move further to the European markets. I would like to talk first about BRUA, our flagship project. It's been a project that was financed by Romania with European funds, and it is finalized. We finished the interconnections with Bulgaria and with Hungary as well. Also, we have invested in the Trans-Balkan pipeline. It is now available for reverse flow, and that also plays a very important role in bringing gas to the even Republic of Moldova and Ukraine again on the reverse flow. We've also built a new pipeline to the Republic of Moldova, the Iași-Ungheni-Chișinău pipeline, and that was instrumental for us to be able to help Republic of Moldova in their time of need, and we will continue to do so. The Republic of Moldova is now importing commercially gas, and that flows through this particular pipeline. Yes, more interconnections are needed. Romania also is working with other countries in the region to create the vertical gas corridor. They just renewed their MOU, and that is also a very important piece of infrastructure that is helping the gas flow in the region.
Thank you so much. One of the multilateral initiatives that works towards integration of transport, digital, and energy across the region is the 3Cs initiative. Congratulations to Romania for hosting the summit this year, later in the fall. We cannot wait to hear when the dates are going to be set. Very much looking forward to that. Jake, let's start with you. Let's go to you. Could you talk about the importance of multilateral relationships and coalitions such as 3Cs? What can we expand this year? There's been some exciting announcements from the DFC on the support for the 3Cs investment fund. Tell us where we're at.
Sure. Thank you, Olga, and thanks to the panel. It's an exciting 3+3. I wasn't familiar with that term. It made me think that we could go outside and have a soccer game.
I love that. Let's do that afterwards.
It'd be an interesting way to do this discussion. The 3Cs, well, and also I appreciated your comments and want to just applaud these really tremendous, heroic efforts on the diversification of your energy supply. It is not an easy task. DFC is involved across the 3Cs region in helping countries to move completely, 100% away from Russian sources of energy and into independent sources, and the ability of Romania to do that so quickly and decisively and effectively sends a really important signal to the region, and it's tremendous work. I also want to just share, I just returned a couple days ago from a visit to Kyiv, where DFC is doing a lot of work. We have a portfolio of about $800 million of investment in Ukraine, where we recently announced another agreement with the Bank of Lviv to do a loan portfolio guarantee. We're looking for projects to support the Ukrainian economy during the war, and we will be there after the war. And one of the really important issues that came up during our visit was the issue of refugee resettlement, and I want to applaud Romania for your incredible efforts. I think more than 2 million Ukrainians more have come into Romania and sought refuge. It's really important and critical work, so thank you. To the 3Cs initiative in the 3Cs region, my CEO, the CEO of the Development Finance Corporation, Scott Nathan, was really proud at the last summit in Riga last year to announce DFC's commitment to a $300 million term sheet to the 3Cs fund. There can be no better illustration than this brutal, outrageous war in Ukraine for the purpose of this fund, to create economic cohesion, energy security, energy independence, and a whole host of other things. DFC is focused on energy because under our statutory authorization to work in Europe, we're actually limited to energy because DFC is a development bank. We're designed to work in the poorest parts of the world. We have a carve-out in Europe to work in higher income countries on the topic of energy security. So in terms of our contribution to the 3Cs Fund, that is focused exclusively on energy security and the sort of the wide array of projects that could include. We have interpreted this authority from Congress as I think the Congress intended us to quite broadly. And so to the extent that we can support infrastructure projects that can provide multi-jurisdictional cross-border cohesion. I know, for example, there are projects underway to do transmission line infrastructure between Romania, Ukraine, Slovakia, Poland, and points south. And so to the extent that we can be supportive of that, that is something that we are looking to do. I think, I want to just underscore one point that Ambassador Morningstar made, which was the sort of flip side of this energy security coin, which is the reliance on fossil energy and the importance of not only diversifying our sources of energy away from Russian sources, but also reducing demand for fossil sources, which have sort of been at this epicenter of this entire conflict. In addition to visiting Kyiv last week, I had a chance to participate in the US-Poland strategic dialogue. And one of the unexpected highlights of that dialogue was the degree to which the Polish economy has been focused on efforts to reduce demand for fossil fuels and what that has meant specifically for the reduction of demand for Russian gas. For example, I learned that the heat pump industry in Poland has grown 100% year over year for the last year. I think the previous year there was a 50 or 60% growth. And that represents to the Polish economy something on the order of 10 or 15% reduction in gas usage in the residential sector. Poland has rolled out significant incentives for homeowners to be able to install heat pumps in addition to solar panels. They provided tax credits. In many ways, it felt analogous to what's happening in the United States in terms of the Inflation Reduction Act, where actually the heat pump, I've noticed, has become a cartoon mascot for the effort to decarbonize and move into this sort of electrified future. So I think there are a lot of lessons that we will get to share at the 3Cs investment conference in Bucharest. I'm really excited to that kind of exchange. I know Josh and I will be in Zagreb ahead of that in March at the Partnership for Transatlantic Energy and Climate Cooperation Conference. So there's just a lot of lessons learned that I think we can take from one jurisdiction into another. And DFC is committed to being there on the financing when the private sector is ready to make those investments. We're there working with Nuclear Electrica on the SMR project. I'm looking forward to the chance to advance that further and looking forward to learning about other projects in this space. Thank you, Olga.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much for your remarks. It's really exciting for us as well to be able to host the summit of the 3Cs initiatives. Romania is actually the only country who's doing it for the second time. And of course, alongside the summit, we will have the business forum that we hope many American companies will participate. The two flagship projects of the 3Cs initiatives, the Rail to Sea via Carpatica, are high on our agenda. We will promote them as well. We have a good example of a Romanian company who has actually signed an MOU with the ICE 3Cs investment fund, is Transgaz. And they were able to benefit from this investment fund. Really, Ukraine, in the Riga summit, Ukraine was given the participating partner status. We are looking to see whether the Republic of Moldova and Georgia can have a similar status and to bring them into the I3C's strategic projects. Also, Romania will increase our participation in the fund. I think that is very important. And we are also looking to see, we were looking into launching maybe an innovation fund of the I3Cs. And I think all these are going to be the priorities of our summit that will take place in the fall of this year.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A lot of exciting developments this year. And thank you, Jake. You touched on a lot of different areas that we'll dive into later. Support for Ukraine, energy efficiency. Let's pivot to nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is at this perfect spot of decarbonization and strengthening energy security. And I think Romania is a really fascinating, excellent example of a country pursuing in parallel, expanding and refurbishing its existing fleet while also working with international allies, particularly the United States, on newer advanced SMR technologies and bringing those to life. David, I would love to give you the spotlight to talk us through on how that cooperation is going. There's been some exciting announcements even in the last year over the site selection and some of the MOUs with the steelmaker. So tell us more.
Thank you very much, Olga. Thanks to the Atlantic Council for hosting this event this morning. Of course, thank you so much to our Romanian partners. And indeed, it's very true that in close cooperation with other leaders across the U.S. government, we have been doing our part from the Office of the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate to really look to advance nuclear globally, but particularly in this region, as a zero emissions, safe, reliable, baseload clean energy source that can help to bolster energy security, contribute to energy diversification, and of course help to drive down emissions and help us to achieve our net zero goals. Romania really stepped up as a leader a little bit over a year ago, maybe around a year and a half ago at COP26 in Glasgow, when President Iohannis and Special Presidential Envoy for Climate Kerry stood together to announce Romania's intention to deploy the first SMR, the first US-made SMR outside of US borders, to replace potentially a retiring coal plant and to drive economic revitalization, job creation through the deployment of, again, the first SMR, but using a reliable, well-known traditional nuclear technology that will, with the aim of getting that deployed, of course, by 2028. So this really set a tone and I think attracted quite a bit of attention to what Romania was doing. Why was this taking place here? And I think it's come now to no surprise, and it's increasingly well understood, that Romania really does stand as a model in the region and globally of what a pragmatic, holistic, and well-diversified energy transition can look like, and decarbonization program can look like. It is, if you think about the changes that are set to take place due to the forward-looking actions of Romania today at the beginning of this decade, by the time we reach the end of this decade, if we can deploy that SMR, you will have a first of a world-leading pioneering project of the first US-made SMR outside of US borders, and I think an inspiration to hopefully the rest of the region and the rest of Europe. You will have the United States also participating in the refurbishment of one of the units at the traditional Cernavodă nuclear facility, the construction of 2 new units at Cernavodă that will nearly double Cernavodă's nuclear capacity by the end of this decade. And we were very excited at the climate conference last year in Sharm el-Sheikh for Secretary Kerry to be present as the head of Exim, Rita Jo Lewis, and Romanian counterparts signed 2 LOIs that will help to accelerate that cooperation on the refurbishment of Cernavodă Unit 1 and the construction of 2 new units at Cernavodă. So you're doubling the conventional nuclear capacity, large-scale nuclear capacity in the country as well, again, through US-Romania cooperation. Through the private sector investments that were mentioned earlier today, there's an opportunity for the responsible development of Romania's natural gas resources and hydrocarbon resources in a construct in which those will help to accelerate diversification away from Russian supplies. That will help to accelerate the fulfillment of Romania's goal of phasing out coal by 2030. And of course, it's imperative that's done in a construct that can still fully achieve, on an accelerated basis, Romania's ambitious climate targets under the European framework and the EU framework, including net zero by mid-century. In addition to that yet as well, we also mentioned how this enabling infrastructure is so important. And here I'm very excited as well about the cooperation that we can do, and already about the steps that Romania is taking on transmission infrastructure. I know that there's a project under consideration that would better connect the Caucasus with the rest of Europe in terms of enabling better balancing of electricity resources and power markets across the Caucasus in Europe. Those sorts of projects are very promising as well. So when you think about all of this and everything that is set to be done in essentially the next 5 to 7 years, we approach an end of this decade in which Romania has made investments and is in the process of making investments that will contribute to a more secure, a more sustainable region, and one whose energy destiny is much more in its own hands than when we started the beginning of this decade. So from a climate perspective, of course, this is exciting, the decarbonization investments that are being made. But speaking, from also a holistic USG perspective, a U.S. government perspective, I think this is really a model for how we can integrate these energy security, energy diversification, energy affordability, and also climate concerns into one integrated approach.
I love that, addressing that trilemma. Josh, anything to add?
Well, yeah, I think just want to underscore a few things that have already been mentioned. Nuclear is certainly going to be a cornerstone of energy transition and decarbonization as we move forward. And one of the amazing things about what Romania has chosen to do in terms of being a first mover on small modular reactor front is not only to serve as a model, but also to serve as an economic driver for the region for that nuclear technology. And that's one of the advantages that small modular reactor technology has, is that it can be created much quicker in a much more centralized or much less centralized supply chain. In terms of supply chains, though, I think I want to raise one cautionary note when we're talking about nuclear and the nuclear transition and transitioning away from natural gas decarbonization and Russian resources. Currently, we see a significant issue with our nuclear supply chain, and what we don't want to do is replace one Russian dependence with another. So the ability for us to work together collectively, cooperatively, and regionally to diversify that nuclear supply chain in terms of fuel and in terms of recycling those resources is going to be incredibly important. And the role that Romania can play in that is going to be at the heart of our ability to kind of diffuse that nuclear technology, especially in the small modular reactor front. I think that what we're looking at moving forward is a re-architecture, not just of systems, but also of regional relationships. And where the choices that Romania is making now put Romania at the heart of that regional re-architecture of relationships and how we conceive of energy systems. Energy systems are not just generation capacity, they're also the relationships that govern how we trade energy, how we create common markets, how we create efficiencies that will drive that decarbonization, that diversification that we're all seeking.
Thank you so much.
Also, I would like to add something. We are saying in the Ministry of Energy that there is no decarbonization plan without nuclear. So this is why I am stressing out what my colleagues already mentioned: refurbishment of Unit 1, development of Unit 3 for deployment of small modular reactor. And something of a new thing, I wanna let you know that in December last year, Nuclear Electrica, the company that operates reactors 1 and 2 in Cernavoda, acquired the uranium company, providing us the safety of, because you talk about supplying, we have an integrated cycle now also with the uranium company, which is a good thing and gives us a much better position in the area.
Thank you so much. Josh, you mentioned electrification and diversification there as well, and David, so did you. So I want to pivot gently towards that. Electrification is foundational to decarbonization. I would love to turn to Ambassador Yusupur to talk about some of the infrastructure developments on the electrification side, on the transmission, some of the older infrastructure being upgraded within Romania, but also across the region. And are there opportunities for the US to engage and support these efforts, whether it's technical support or other means?
Electrification is key. We have again invested in various projects, various interconnections with the neighboring countries, with the Republic of Moldova, as I mentioned. We're working on another 400 megavolt line to connect Romania with the Republic of Moldova in Suceava belts. We're also working in upgrading our own grid. We have funds available from the European Union through the Modernization Fund. Transatlantic just received 457 million euro to invest in upgrading the infrastructure. With renewable transformation, a lot of energy will come online, and that has to be transported, that has to be brought from where it is produced to where it is consumed. And in our particular case, we have a region in Romania close to the Black Sea where a lot of energy is produced. It's the nuclear power plant over there. We're looking to offshore wind energy that will also come from that particular part of the country, and also a project that's been briefly mentioned over here, the underwater, the submarine electrical cable connecting, bringing green energy from Azerbaijan through Georgia, through under the Black Sea, from Romania to Hungary, and then onto the European market. That is a very important project that was signed just recently in December in Bucharest. I know Secretary of State Niculescu, you've just returned from Baku, where the first meeting of the steering committee took place, and we see great progress in that respect as well. Again, we need investment. We need investment from the national budget, from the European funds, and from our partners in order to make our grid able to cope with the new production of energy that's coming up.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Dr. Bakshi, I want to go to you next. If we can just zoom out for a second. We pivoted to decarbonization, but let's talk about kind of overall Romania's decarbonization goals and a path to net zero. Romania has done much better than other countries in the region in terms of not being reliant on Russian energy sources, or being reliant to an extent where it was easier to pivot away. But at the same time, the country is still heavily reliant on fossil fuels, but it holds tremendous renewable clean energy potential. Could you talk about the path to net zero and then ways that US can engage and support these efforts?
Indeed. So just to give you an overview, Romania currently is one of the countries with the lowest emissions per capita in the European Union. We are there very close with Sweden in our emissions per capita rate. We also produce about 2/3 of our electricity from low carbon sources. So we are talking about nuclear, but we are also talking about hydropower. We have a strong base in hydropower. So we can somehow conclude that in that region, we are actually quite climate friendly. Mm-hmm. But we are willing to do more. And this is a pledge taken by President Iohannis at COP26 and then at COP27, when he expressed our willingness to do more and to be the leaders of the green transition in the Black Sea region. When it comes to the actual action of Romania, so we are definitely working at our strategies, because it's very important to have a clear path towards decarbonization with very clear measures. We are in the process of finalizing our long-term strategy. We have finalized our adaptation strategy, and we are working at strategic plans on offshore wind and also on hydrogen. But beyond planning, you also need to act as soon as possible. And we are doing that, and we are actually placing the money and the investments from our National Recovery and Resilience Plan in this particular area. We are investing heavily in decarbonizing our energy system, as well as in our biodiversity, in carbon capturing in a natural way through our forests. And at the same time, we want to make sure that we place our mark as leaders in the Black Sea region. And President Iohannis has been heavily involved, and he hosted actually in December last year the signing of the strategic partnership between Romania, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Hungary. It's a partnership related to the development of green energy in the Black Sea region and then the transport of the energy in the Black Sea region. And the submarine electric cable that was mentioned here is actually part of that agreement. But the agreement is not only about the electric cable. I want to highlight this. It's about the development of renewables in the Black Sea region, and also down the road looking at the potential for hydrogen production in the Black Sea region, including in this area of Dobroja in southeast Romania, where we have a lot of production capacity. We have our nuclear concentrated there. We are very close to the Black Sea. So we believe that there is actually a strong potential for a hydrogen valley, a regional hydrogen valley in Dobroja. And when it comes to, should I answer also the areas of cooperation?
Please,
question?
Please, go ahead.
So, as was mentioned here, we already have a strong cooperation, and I want to thank you, David, for the overview of what we've done on the nuclear. We are actually on this mission in Washington, our delegation, also to explore ways in which our cooperation in the nuclear field could be extended to other areas to enhance our cooperation when it comes to offshore wind, solar, and when it comes to hydrogen also. We also have a strong cooperation, I would say, in the field of agriculture. We are part of Aim for Climate. We actually, Romania joined Aim for Climate at the very beginning at COP26. And currently, Romania is cooperating with the US in developing innovative powering for irrigation systems. So we are putting together this project whereby we will be using solar photovoltaic panels on irrigation canals to power our irrigation system and to better adapt. And here we are also touching on adaptation to better adapt to climate change and to make sure that our agricultural production stays strong. And another area of cooperation that I hope we are going to explore over the next days is related to US and Romania working together in the field of green tech. Working together when it comes to developing and manufacturing green tech. And I want to build on what was mentioned here about the plans of Poland on when it comes to the area of heat pumps. Well, in Romania, we also have an incipient industry, and we have companies that are actually producing heat pumps, installing them in Romania. And also, Romanian engineers hold the patents for innovative products, components that can be used in heat pumps. And I think this is an area that we could explore from a research and development as well as manufacturing point of view. Another area where there was strong cooperation with the United States is the car manufacturing sector. We do have big players in the United States operating in Romania. Romania has a strong tradition of car manufacturing by using internal combustion engines, but we know we need to electrify in the process of decarbonization. So we are very open in expanding our industry and in looking more into the electrical car manufacturing opportunities. And of course, I think there are various opportunities to cooperate when it comes to solar and wind technology, so innovating in this particular area. And also innovating at the intersection between the green transition and digitalization. Because as you know, Romania has a strong base also when it comes to digital products. We are talking about, in particular software for the green transition. We do have some companies that are actually involved in developing such software. So I look forward to maybe getting some feedback on the American side on the potential of all this area of cooperation.
Thank you. You listed a lot. Yes, we'll go.
I know time is of the essence, but I just wanted to add one more topic that is near and dear to our heart, and that would be enhancing skills for the green transition, education, creating a labor force that will actually support the green transition. And we have had some projects on this, and we are looking forward to finding ways to cooperate with the US on that as well.
And
yes,
also
please.
I wanted to add, because offshore wind was many times pronounced in this session. I want to remember the fact that it was December 2021. I was with Mr. Undersecretary Fernandez, co-panelists at the World Petroleum Congress. So offshore wind and petroleum, it's not the best match. And he asked me if he can announce the cooperation between Ministry of Energy and the Romanian and the United States side on establishing a collaboration in drafting the offshore wind law. And he announced it in Houston. And let me say that we developed important steps in this way. And I have been last week with the World Bank experts to visit the port of Constanța, because you see how important this region of Romania is. Constanța, nuclear, as we said, biggest refinery in Romania, offshore potential, port of Constanța, biggest onshore wind park, 700 megawatt already installed, so which one reactor from Cernavoda. And we visit the port of Constanța, trying to assess the potential of this port, how this infrastructure piece can provide, can act as a manufacturing port. So companies can go and produce their equipment in the port of Constanța, an assembly port, equipments being shipped and assembled there, and then construction moved to the construction site, and operation and maintenance port. So again, I'm launching the invitation for American companies that want to, I don't know, seize the opportunity and see how they can develop business in the port of Constanța and in Constanța area.
Thank you so much. So a lot has been said and covered, but we still have quite a bit to get through in the next several minutes. I'd love your feedback on the US side on hydrogen. What is the hydrogen valley or hub? What does it actually mean? And what does hydrogen ready mean for the region? We heard about wind development, offshore, onshore wind. We talked about solar, something that hasn't been brought up yet. And there's been some exciting exploration on the Romania side, geothermal. There also has been some announcement on updated battery regulations in Romania. So, lots and lots of topics. But if you could just do a quick, 30-second to like a minute or a couple of minutes summary of anything that hasn't been mentioned on ways that U.S. can plug in on these efforts, and whoever wants to take it away first.
Everybody's looking at me, so I'll take it away. So this is really exciting. I'm taking notes because I want to make sure we actually follow up on these opportunities. Let me maybe provide a reaction with a little bit of a lens of the market, because that's where DFC is focused. We are designed to work with the private sector. Although it is always a huge bonus and a preference for us to work with American companies, we actually are not required under statute to work with American companies. So to the extent that there are Romanian businesses that are building these new technologies, that are manufacturing this equipment, that are developing and installing and deploying the equipment, that is totally fair game and very appealing for DFC to support. And I think that there's just tremendous potential. So in terms of our recent transactions in the region, last year we announced a $400 million facility in Moldova that will help them to diversify their gas supply. It helped allow them to completely switch from Russian gas to a non-Russian source of gas. I mentioned some of the investments that we've recently announced in Ukraine. One other one came to mind in light of the focus on workforce development, training, education. We announced a technical assistance grant to the Ukrainian Catholic University for the purpose of facilitating this type of education. In that case, actually, it was focused on helping to sort of reinforce the university's abilities to do remote learning and online learning platforms that are critical in this time, but are transferable to sort of the world that we're now living in. And all over the world, we are investing at scale in precisely the kinds of projects that you mentioned. We broke ground recently on a $500 million solar panel manufacturing facility in India. We are working in Eastern Europe and in Southeast Asia on offshore wind and onshore wind. We've got a robust pipeline in the sort of upstream supply chain space. As Josh mentioned, one of the areas that we're deeply concerned about is that we can maintain secure supply chains all the way upstream. So whether you're talking about the electric vehicle to actual vehicle manufacturing, from the battery all the way to its recycling, that's an area where we're involved. And so, I think there's a lot to follow up on here. The one last note that I would mention is in the world of hydrogen, to some extent SMR technology, these are areas where we're not quite seeing a private sector push from the market. It's difficult to raise equity financing from private sector sponsors, but there's tremendous activity in solar, in wind, in efficiency, in manufacturing, in transportation, in the electrification of all of that. And so to the extent that you are able to sort of plug into that wave of market activity, I can commit that DFC will be there to help push you in, and we want to identify opportunities to do that.
Just to pick up on what Jake was saying, I think, we're looking at trying to address complex, over-the-horizon future problems, and we have systems and relationships that are not built, not necessarily equipped to handle the challenges and the type of partnership that's needed to address those things. So the public-private partnership model that Jake is talking about and that the DFC is really leading on for the US government is something that has to evolve. And the nature of that interaction is going to be something that we see continue to expand. I mean, the fact of the matter is that I think that the IEA has said that the transition is going to cost us $23 trillion. That's both a price tag and an opportunity. And the other fact is that cannot be balance sheet financed by sovereigns. You have to have the private sector engaged in this, and building those markets and creating those markets is going to be absolutely essential, as Jake talked about. And I think that there's a role for government, as we've seen in the deployment of solar and now the fruits that have been born from the policies that we put forward 20 years ago from a government perspective to encourage those investments and things that David and Secretary Kerry are very, very keyed on providing. Those kinds of roles for government are going to continue to be important, but in a way that's different, that's new, that creates market signals, but doesn't crowd the market, and really incentivizes the private sector investment that's going to be necessary to drive that transition.
Absolutely. Let me just, everything's been said, but not everyone said it, so let me take my best shot. Capital, to Deputy Assistant Secretary Volz's point, capital will flow where there is clean competitiveness increasingly in the years ahead. And what I just heard from the State Secretary and from Romanian colleagues is that Romania is open for business in the 21st century clean economy. That's an extremely exciting thing to hear. But let me touch on just a few implications of what was just laid out. I think you're absolutely right to be thinking not just about deployment of traditional renewables, but about a whole host of different opportunities that lay in that, including in electric power systems, the digital power interface and the like. The Hydrogen Valley concept is a really interesting one, and I will note that we have even a demonstration project we're looking to do in Ukraine with some of our State Department colleagues and DOE colleagues looking at nuclear to hydrogen opportunities. And I think that we should not forget that hydrogen can be derived from nuclear and not just from renewables or fossil CCUS. So some sort of integrated opportunity to build that diversified hydrogen production base, I think, is very exciting. I would encourage you also to think about, though, what does the offtake look like? And that's both about a conversation with Brussels about making sure that there is long-term offtake that can create bankable projects. But it's also about identifying what are those hydrogen demand opportunities in country as well. As you scale up smaller volumes in the get-go, can you absorb some of those domestically? And where do those opportunities exist in industrial decarbonization, et cetera? And then the final point I will just make, something that I think we don't focus on enough and we don't talk about enough, but I heard a little bit of it here. As you look at your prodigious offshore wind opportunities, as you look at the renewable deployment and nuclear opportunities that you have, just as Josh was saying that we should not pivot from one dependence on Russian fossil fuel into a new dependence in the nuclear fuel space. So similarly, should we be wary of not pivoting from one dependence in the hydrocarbon space to a new set of dependencies in the clean energy transition when it comes to renewable technologies and clean energy technologies. So to the degree that we can use some of the ambitious deployment that will be going on over the rest of this decade in Romania to also drive a greater integration of Romania and the entire Black Sea region into clean energy value chains, that is a plus. That's a plus in terms of the political economy of decarbonization, because then deployment means actually FDI, job creation in country, not just outside the country's borders, but it's also good in terms of diversifying these clean energy supply chains that cannot be monopolized by just one single actor if the energy transition and if our efforts, collective efforts to reach our net zero goals are to be successful and safe and sustainable and secure. So again, finding that integrated approach of integrating into global value chains, creating manufacturing, and finding where the opportunities are, where Romania is most naturally competitive within those value chains is something that I think we're very excited to engage on going forward as well.
Thank you so much, David. Now remind me, is the nuclear hydrogen, is that pink color? I can never remember all the colors, right? It's,
we want to be color agnostic
that's
and
right,
just focus on low carbon hydrogen.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. A very comprehensive overview. You covered a lot. So Ukraine has been mentioned a few times throughout the conversation, but I think it's worth its own specific separate question in terms of support for Ukraine in the short term, immediate, as Russia is bombing critical energy infrastructure, trying to inflict as much suffering on Ukraine, especially civilian population, especially the vulnerable population right now. So ways that US and Romania can cooperate together, as well as the Black Sea region overall. And then also looking into the next several years, the next several decades of what the reconstruction efforts could look like, and not, kind of waiting for the war to be over to already have a really clear plan for a vision of Ukraine, of a country of innovation, clean energy production and export, a country where you can try out new exciting technologies and things like hydrogen to nuclear. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And I'm already starting to take questions from the audience. So if we have our in-person audience, if they want to start lining up as well here, as a follow-up on this note on the reconstruction efforts for Ukraine, but also the immediate needs, one question is regarding making sure that Ukraine is included in the vertical corridor for both electricity and gas cross-border flow. So if someone can kind of mention how that's going, is that progressing? Are there barriers to including Ukraine in these interconnections? So I know I just asked a lot around the Ukraine issue, but let's try to tackle that. Should we try with Doctor or Ambassador, or go ahead, Deputy Minister?
Let me tell you that this morning at 6:30 a.m., due to the jet lag sensation, I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 6:30. I had a meeting with my colleagues in the Ministry of Energy. 3.3 million metric cubes of natural gas are flowing through Ukraine from Romania. So this is just a small portion of the help that we are providing. 0.5 million cubic meters are going to Republic of Moldova, and 3.3 million are going to Ukraine. We are doing this also due to the fact that we succeeded in diversifying our sources of natural gas. I came from Baku when Friday Romgaz signed a new contract with their company Socar in buying natural gas and transporting it to Romania, and not only to Romania, but to the markets that we are linked with. So our interconnectors are with all the neighboring countries except Serbia, and we can provide stability in terms of security of supply in the region as we are doing now. In terms of electricity, the transport system connected in the 16th of March last year, if I'm correct, ENTSO-E system. So we are also being able to export electricity to Ukraine and to the Republic of Moldova. And the Romanian companies are one phone call away in order to go and help in providing equipments. We established a list of companies that can provide equipments, can provide solution on reconstructing the energy infrastructure. And with Assistant Secretary Payet, I am on VTCs every week regarding this subject. So Romania is an important pillar in the region.
Thank you
Yes,
so much.
if I might just
Yes,
add
please,
to that,
Ambassador.
because you touched upon a lot of the gas and a little bit of electricity. You mentioned the NSOE. I would really like to mention the hard work of our national TSO, Transelectrica, in making this happen. I think they are the unsung heroes. They worked really hard on getting this done on a very short timeline, first on an emergency basis and now commercially. You mentioned the coordination meetings. We are working with we are part of the G+ meetings on giving assistance to Ukraine, trying to get their grids operational because of a host of problems that are happening because of the electricity cutouts. They're also affecting Republic of Moldova. With Ukraine and Republic of Moldova, we have a trilateral cooperation format. We're going to meet again in this format later this month. And again, I think the ministers of Foreign Affairs, Energy, and maybe transportation as well will join and try and see how we can work together to help them out. Republic of Moldova is also extremely important for us. It is foremost a priority. We have been helping them both with electricity and gas, and we're also members of the Moldova support group together with Germany and France. I also wanted to mention the hub in Suceava, a very important element that is most of the generators and the transformers are going through this very important humanitarian hub, transportation hub, logistical hub in Suceava.
Thank you so much. Dr. Bokshi?
Yeah, I wanted to add that we are also supporting Moldova with firewood, and we do have an ongoing cooperation framework, which is very active with Moldova on energy efficiency and measures that can be taken at the very individual home level to reduce the consumption of energy. So this has been over the last years an ongoing project, and we are trying to enhance that. And in addition to that, we are also actually offering training, and we are trying to support the human resource that will be employed in the renewable energy field in Moldova by providing training to engineers and solar photovoltaic and offshore wind technicians in a center in Constanța. So there is some work going on with our Moldovan counterparts.
Anyone else would like to add? Josh, go ahead.
Romania's role in helping to support our Ukrainian colleagues and our Moldovan colleagues it would be impossible to overstate it. I think Romania has really demonstrated there is no security without solidarity. And I know that it has come at a great cost to the Ukrainian people to fight this war, but it's also coming at a great cost to the Romanian people to help support this effort. And so just from a U.S. perspective, we want to express our deep gratitude and our recognition of the sacrifice that you're making in this, what really is an existential and a very important fight.
Here. I'll just add my thanks and to say the word solidarity is absolutely key. I mean, this is a defining moment in European history, in the transatlantic relationship, in broader global history, and the way that the Romanian people have opened their homes, literally, their hearts, their checkbooks. I mean, to their neighbors, not only in Ukraine but also as Moldova, comes under pressure, is extremely admirable, and I think really a model of the sort of response that can get us through this and that can pull together and lead Ukraine and the broader region to come out of all of this with stronger and with greater solidarity than ever before. But I also want to take the opportunity too, because my colleague is perhaps too modest to just recognize and thank the incredible efforts of the Department of Energy in terms of the equipment and assistance that they have provided to the Ukrainian people, to the Ukrainian grid and electricity sector, and to those in the broader region that are looking to also deal with the impacts of this and provide whatever assistance they can. The frankly tireless work of a range of hardworking individuals at the Department of Energy has been critical over the past year in this effort.
Thank you so much, David. We are unfortunately running out of time, so one final question, and if we could keep the answer just really quick, on Russian-owned assets in the region and also Romania, for example, local refineries, and and assessing the risks of that, and having a pathway, or is there a pathway on reducing Russia's ownership of critical energy and other critical infrastructure in the region? I don't know if I know that's a tough question, and but any thoughts on that, on progress being made so far and what the future could look like?
I think that the Lukoil refinery based in Romania, it's owned by a company that it's not directly linked to, so it's a spin-off from a Russian company, as of my knowledge, and I do not have details regarding this. More important is the fact that no Russian crude oil is being refined in that refinery, and no liter of oil product is sold in the petrol stations operated by this company.
Thank you so much. We'll finish off with a lightning round, if you would. So one thing that you're concerned about going into the 2023, and one thing that you're really excited, particularly in the scope of the US-Romania Black Sea partnership. Josh, can I start with you, or is?
Well, we have an incredible opportunity at terrible cost. And the war in Ukraine has really, I think, woken a lot of people up to the fact that there is an urgency that we can't ignore in terms of how we re-architect our relationships and how we re-architect our energy systems. And through that partnership and that cooperation that's been underscored in so many of the comments here today, I think we have just an incredible opportunity to work with our Romanian counterparts and our partners within Black Sea region to really accelerate the transition and to create good-paying jobs in clean energy sectors and to decarbonize and to increase energy security and stability moving forward.
Excellent. All right, 5 seconds each. David.
Could not have said it better. This is not just a moment to work closer than ever together as partners in responding to the crises of the moment, but also in building a stronger foundation of energy security, energy sustainability, energy affordability going forward. And that's absolutely what we are working to do, and we'll see the fruits of that labor by the end of this decade.
25 years of strategic partnership, I think that we can all see the benefits. A lot of discussions are centered through the energy sector. Opportunities, a lot of opportunities are arising, but also we have to be prepared for the next winter, because this one has been a complicated winter, a geopolitical winter, and we have to be prepared for any problems that may occur during the next period of time.
Ambassador.
Some of the keywords that I would take from this conversation were solidarity. I think we need more solidarity in the coming year, more regional and international cooperation, and investment in energy production and in accelerating the green transition. And I think here we are looking forward to the largest American footprint we can get, and to moving, as you said, the strategic partnership on for the next 25 years.
I think this will be a year and we will have a great opportunity to strengthen the green dimension in our strategic partnership. And also building a bit on your last question, I think it's very important to understand that a speedy green transition will correlate also with less influence of Russia in the Black Sea region, and Romania and US can work jointly together towards this.
That is a perfect note to end on. Thank you. Thank you to our fantastic panel. You are amazing. Thank you to Ambassador Morningstar for his remarks, and of course, Ambassador Muraru for his fantastic introductory statements as well. This conversation will be available on the Atlantic Council website and social media. If you'd like to share this with your colleagues, please do. But I also want to make sure to thank our team here at the Atlantic Council. It takes a village to put something like this together, and they did an absolutely fantastic job. Patty, Eamon, Graham, Rebecca, Mackenzie, Jackson, and Jasper, thank you all for your hard work in making this happen today. I also want to encourage our audience here in person and our audience tuning in virtually. First of all, thank you for joining us. And I want to encourage you to visit our website to see our upcoming events, some things that are on the horizon for you to keep an eye on. We're hosting the CEO of Total Energies. We're also hosting His Excellency Maros Šefčovič. So a lot of exciting names, a really busy spring for us. So I hope that you will join us. I hope you have a fantastic Monday, and thank you all again for joining us today.